Hello and welcome to another episode of One Fall WrestleCast Live. Tom and I are back with you again this week. We've got plenty of great stuff to talk about. Road Dogg is in the news. Also, we didn't get to talk about it last week, even though we set out to do so. Ricky Saints has made his NXT debut. Whatever happened between Tony Khan and Shane McMahon? All this and a lot more. Can't wait to get into it.
Welcome to the One Fall WrestleCast.
Okay. Hopefully my internet will decide to catch up this evening. We're in the midst of everybody turning off their technology devices for the evening, so I should smooth out here in the next couple of minutes.
Your audio, bud? I'm good. I'm real good. I had a very relaxed weekend. We only had one game this morning at 9 a.m. So did that. I attempted to do things yesterday, and like, you know, have you ever like go to attempt to do things, and like the first thing you attempt to do like just sort of nosedives and sucks, and you're just like, you know what, we're just gonna not do that anymore, and we're gonna go home. And that's what happened yesterday. I went to the Pancake House, which is like I guess it's a chain, but there's only two in Pennsylvania, for like brunch, breakfast, like lunch type of thing. And got awful service. Awful service. My food was awful. They did not salt nor pepper my eggs. And service was awful. The atmosphere was cramped and hot, and did not enjoy it. And rather than go to Target and do other things that were like, oh, we could do, we were just like, you know what, we'll just go home. Let's just. This is already a bad omen. We're just going to go home. So did nothing there. Basketball today was good. Came home, did chores, played video games, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I had a pretty baller ass weekend Friday night. Thanks for coming out.
Oh yeah, that was great too. Friday night was good, and I was on a high. That's why Saturday, when it was like it started to go down, I'm like, you know what, we're going home.
Yep. Yeah, had that little shindig on Friday, and then I had one too many adult beverages on Friday, and Saturday was a little bit rough for me. And you mix in the overconsumption and the lack of sleep, and then I had to be at a basketball game at 9 a.m., an hour away from where the shindig happened, and Yeah. Yesterday was a day.
Yesterday, yeah, that sounds rough. Yeah,
and then we had basketball this morning, and we brought the championship home, which was awesome. And now here, and then I had to go into work for a hot second, and I got back and had some car problems, and now here we are. So yes, good weekend. Just got to get through two more shifts, and then be taking a little vacation, and then we'll see what happens next in Mr. Waltz. So yeah,
vacations are always good.
All good things, but today, yeah, I'm excited for my vacation. However, we have tons and tons of business that we need to attend to right now. Okay. And as I was scrolling the old Instabook earlier, where the gram of faces, I saw this, and I I wanted to discuss this with you because this seems to be a rumbling in the IWC as of late. And I don't know that I disagree, but I also don't know that I agree fully. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this. And so here it is. The question is, what has happened to Triple H's booking? It says Triple H was supposed to be the guy who finally fixed WWE's creative problems. His work in NXT was legendary, and his first full year running the main roster had people excited again. Storytelling made sense, characters felt important, and big moments actually felt earned. However, the hype is fading fast. WrestleMania 41 doesn't hit like it should. Some matches feel recycled, others feel like filler, and some top stars don't even have real direction. Rhea Ripley has been spinning her wheels for months. Bianca versus Jade is dragging, and outside of Gunther versus Jay, which still has plenty of controversy, nothing really demands attention. This isn't what we expected from a Triple H-led Mania. So what's changed? Maybe Vince's influence is creeping back in. Maybe the Endeavor deal is forcing WWE into safer, more business-driven decisions. Or maybe Triple H just isn't booking with the same fire he had in NXT. Whatever the reason, clear something is missing. WrestleMania is supposed to be the biggest show of the year. Right now, it feels like just another event on the calendar. If Triple H doesn't shake things up soon, WWE risks falling right back into the same creative slump us fans thought we had finally escaped.
So I feel like, who's that from? Who wrote that?
That's from the Pro Wrestling World on Facebook. It's a
Pro Wrestling. Okay, so I feel like that's a little harsh. Is WWE as hot this year as it was last year? No, absolutely not. I think last year was sort of a hard shakeup, and nobody knew it was coming next. But I think that TKO deal, and particularly, with the Rock schedule and with John Cena being back for this year and it being his John Cena farewell tour, et cetera, I do think that there are some things that have been decided were best for business because they have particularly the Rock and Cena. And I feel like everything kind of around the Rock and John Cena does feel very Vince McMahon-esque. I think that they've got these big marquee attractions. They want to get these marquee attractions out there and make sure that these marquee attractions bring the casual fan to WrestleMania. And I think that, what happens with The Rock and what happens with John Cena and everybody at WrestleMania, I think that is sort of going to be meant to be the pinnacle there. I think for the casual fan, or for the hardcore fan, I think we are still going to get some pretty good bangers. We're going to get, Jay versus Gunther. I realize the internet wrestling community there's some controversy on that. I don't understand why. I think it's absolutely been booked great. If anything, Gunther's been booked like a little stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand why everybody's in an uproar about that. Like, Jay is fucking 1,000,000% over, and like, I just don't understand why everybody feels the way that they feel about the way Jey Uso is being booked right now.
Yeah, like I mean, Gunther can't be a dominant like monster indefinitely. And he was for a long time with the Intercontinental title. The World Heavyweight title hasn't felt as important, except that, when he won it, I felt like that felt important. But he had just come off a really, really long Intercontinental title run. So it was sort of hard. Like there's only so many people on the roster, and he was the Intercontinental champ for 2+ years, and he beat all of them. So it was really hard to like kind of, not just recreate that. And I feel like sometimes they just didn't have anything new and exciting for him, and rather than rehash something that had already happened, they maybe just sort of swept it under the rug, or kind of like just had him beat somebody in a different manner. He hasn't really felt the same since he lost to Cody Rhodes at King of the Ring. Or was that at like Crown Jewel or something? Whenever that was. Like, yeah, that was at Crown Jewel.
Crown Jewel, because they did the Crown Jewel Championship belt.
Right. So like he hasn't really felt the same since then. I didn't hate the angle that they did with like Gunther getting his groove back. I didn't hate that. I thought that was kind of neat after that, but he's sort of been relegated to the side, I think. And I think there have been some injuries as well that have maybe sidelined some of their creative plans here and there, and kind of like had them have to kind of wait and see things out. I think Jade Cargill is definitely hurt, so I think that has so her inability to kind of be there has sort of, I think, hurt the Bianca Belair storyline and really just kind of forced her and Naomi to go out there, and that stinks. Like I'm like that.
No, he's got awful.
Like that stinks. Like that's an. I mean, that just it's the same shit every week. It's like it's predictable, it's dumb, and it's like, all right, well, we've got Liv and Raquel sort of just place holding this feud. And there's going to be a twist at some point. But I don't know if you saw this. So what I saw when we saw Raquel 2 weeks ago, when we saw Raquel and Liv walking back, I thought I saw somebody that looked like Bayley running the opposite direction. So I'm not saying that might be the case and that might be what's coming up, or maybe that was just supposed to be some like backstage personnel or guard or something. But to my eye, that looked like Bayley.
I mean, wasn't Bayley in the match in the ring when that happened?
Maybe.
And then
I don't know.
She went. I think she might have gone running back there on that. I don't remember.
So I mean, I'm just saying that like when the shot of like Liv and Raquel, like they were the focus of the camera walking back from where the incident had happened, a figure ran by in the back, sprinting. So like I said, to my eye, it looked like Bayley, but it's not like I stopped and rewound it and like, but it could have been anybody, really. It was somebody in like kind of those baggy pants that Bayley wears or was wearing at the time, and a t-shirt just running. So, I mean, it literally could have been anybody. Who knows? But that's so somebody, I think that, Liv and Raquel is the red herring, but it's pretty obvious now that it's the red herring, and we're waiting on, like, I think Jade to, like, actually be cleared to wrestle or do something or come out and, like, point the finger or whatever to kind of get this kicked off. And I feel like this has been now, it's dragged on too long, and it's just kind of left Bianca and and in a stalemate with Naomi, and that's just it's been awful. Like I don't understand people that like Naomi because she's terrible. Like they give her the mic and she's like, "That's right, sis," and it's like, all right, let's fucking back it up a little bit. And that's all she says. Like every week, it's the same like 2 or 3 sentences, and they go out there and they beat a team for nothing. I don't even think they defend their titles, really. They just kind of like have a match, beat some people, and we move on. And it's like week after week after week. This is what's going on. So that stinks. You're right. I mean, pretty much the whole women's division sort of just kind of, I don't want to say they're in the mud, but it's like we're waiting for something. Tiffany and Charlotte, I think, has been interesting. Nia Jax comes out and does good stuff and interjects herself in ways. Although she botched her Annihilator on Friday pretty bad. Like she just kind of fell down.
Oh yeah, it looked real bad.
Well, so I watched it on the replay. So I watched it Saturday night, and I just brought it up on the USA app. And they very clearly edited out half a second so that it looked like she didn't stop before she sat on her. So it was WWE knows that it was a pretty terrible botch. So it was bad news because I saw it first on Twitter and I went, the fuck? And so yeah, it's looking like, I mean, I'm not saying all hope is lost. Like that's not where I am. with it yet, but it certainly feels like we're very much in a holding pattern in a similar way that, as that article pointed out, as that we used to be under the Vince McMahon regime. It's like, no, there's a plan. We'll get it all in. But right now, because this person's not cleared and we're waiting on this and we're waiting on that and we want to see what happens here and whatever, it's just like filler. So we're in this weird holding pattern where it's just like filler. And I think a lot of that too had to do with, because there was that rumor that like The Rock may not make WrestleMania. So I think there was also some of that, like, well, will he be there or won't he be there? Because if he's there, we really have to build something up for it. But if he's not there, we really gotta like scramble and get some special stuff in there to make this worthwhile. And I think there's been a lot of waiting to see, like, well, do we throw in some surprises, or do we get rid of some of the stuff? But now I think there's a lot of good going on though too. I think the rise of Jacob Fatu has been immensely entertaining, and it continues to be. It was immensely entertaining on Friday. Now with Solo walking back in and them like legit, it felt real with them like getting in Solo's face. Where the hell were you? We've been running this place and you ran away. And Solo like kind of like taking the knee a little bit, like, okay, I'm here now. You're right. We're on the same page, and like just sort of take it. So I think that's really interesting. Something's going to blow up there, and that's really, really interesting. And I don't think that they've done a bad job with that at all. I think they've done, that's been something I think that's gone to plan and hasn't needed to be delayed or pushed with filler or anything like that. I think the return of Braun Strowman has been handled very well. He's been in the main event pretty often on Fridays, and he's been particularly entertaining. I love a big man smashing other big men. That's been really fun. Raw has been fantastic. I think a lot of the problem is SmackDown and what's happening on Fridays, because Raw has been great, and I think that's a thing that, like, maybe that article kind of overlooks, is that like they probably watched SmackDown from like this past Friday and went, God, what the hell are we doing with all this stuff? And I think that, other than on Raw with Gunther being a little bit kind of like in a shaky spot, but I think that's, ultimately going to pay off with a big win for Jay, and he's going to get his WrestleMania moment, which is just deserved. Now, is it a little bit predictable? Yeah, I think so. But I mean, it'll be cool when it happens. So
I agree. And I think that, Raw has absolutely been the better show. And,
not to mention that Pentagon and with everything Chad Gable did up to and through Penta being there. And
hey, man, they're saying he's good. There's the chatter is still live that Chad Gable is going to show up in AAA. Like, cool. I think, or CMLL, something of the like. I think it's going to be interesting. And then I saw recently that WWE has secured the trademark rights to Lucha Underground, which was an episodic pro wrestling show not that long ago that Rey Mysterio was a part of and Penta was a part of. So Ricochet was a part of that also. Swerve Strickland, Karrion Kross was in Lucha Underground.
For, a little bit, yeah, because he did that. They did that, and then it stopped, and that's sort of, he was working, allegedly the story goes, he was working as a bouncer, and he ran into John Moxley, who had just left and was just Dean Ambrose and had just left, and apparently Mox was like, call Hunter, here's his number. And that's how that went, and that's what got him in NXT and started that whole run. So,
and now Kevin's looking viable.
They got rid of his stable. It's just him and Scarlett, which I think has ultimately been what's worked for him in the past. I think that his promos are great.
I really like this character that he's like driving towards, like he's playing nothing but mind manipulation, you know what I mean? And like seems just spreading seeds of discontent everywhere he goes. And it seems to really be working for him.
Yeah, I'm very much liking what he's doing. There's, like I said, there's a lot of good going on I think that it's really, you know, SmackDown that's been kind of the lackluster show. Whereas not to say that Raw doesn't have problems here and there, but for the most part it's entertaining for the entire 2.5 hours. SmackDown does tend to, which, you know, was a Vince problem too when there was a 3-hour show. The 3-hour show. Remember how much Raw would drag. When they finally made it so that SmackDown wasn't just mostly a recap show with like post AEW,
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, so it's really just kind of a, like, you know, I think in a holding pattern. I think it's maybe too early to say. I think that criticism is valid, of course, at any point in time. I obviously just spent 5 minutes criticizing him, but I think that let's see sort of where WrestleMania plays out, and if it stinks. And if it stinks, like, let's fucking rip it to shreds, right? Like, we thought you guys were going to do something cool. You came out and all you did was lay a turd. Maybe they've got some big surprises for us. Maybe they're going to pop us real hard left, right, and we're not going to know, you know, whether it's time to take a crap or wind our watch. And maybe it's going to be great. But maybe they'll just lay a turd. Who knows? We'll find out, and then, you know, we'll kind of go from there. But I think they're saving a lot of the surprises, and hopefully they really just let it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully we show up Raw after WrestleMania after that's done, and we're just sorry.
You know, but I think for me, from my standpoint, you know, I agree with a little bit of that. I think some things have stalled out, and some things do feel a little bit underwhelming, right? But I also feel like I want to trust the process, because I've not been really let down by some things. Like, it's not like everything's letting me down, but like there's definitely, you know, the buzz around the Elimination Chamber, you know, with the North Star still undecided what WrestleMania is going to look like, right? And then there's just, I don't feel like there's any buzz around Elimination Chamber.
It's hard to say, because I like the Elimination Chamber, so I just look forward.
I do too. I'm just saying there's no hype. I don't feel like there's any hype surrounding Elimination Chamber, and both chamber matches seem to be all right.
They're stacked. The men's chamber is stacked. The women's chamber is okay.
Predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Liv doesn't win the women's chamber, we're gonna be like, what?
Zelina Vega's gonna win the women's chamber.
That'd be the worst. That'd be terrible.
Why?
So Bria can smash her to little pieces?
Sure, maybe.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we're sitting here talking about how stale the women's division is, and I give you a viable alternative to try something new, and you just want to see Liv and Rhea again.
I mean, I think that's what we're gonna see, if I'm being honest.
I think maybe Alexa Bliss has a chance to win.
Alexa would be better, actually. If Alexa Bliss won it, I think that would be really something. Especially if she sort of wins it kind of like out of nowhere, and then they spend the rest between then and WrestleMania building it. That could be really cool.
I think it'd be great.
Zelina Vega, I don't see as being.
I mean, you know, especially I guess that's because she just got moved to SmackDown, so she's probably not going to win that.
Yeah, like I could see her being the last one. Like it could be Zelina Vega and whomever actually wins, but I don't see her winning. But then maybe she goes on and wins the Intercontinental at WrestleMania or something, because that would be a great spot for her.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I think
for
sure.
Yeah,
but we added these 2 women's mid-card titles, and neither of them feels important. You know, I mean,
Chelsea's doing her best.
She's trying, man, but it's not there. And you know, and you said yourself, like, you think that it's because she's been working with Michin, but like, I expect her to pick up that ball and run a little bit better than she has. You know, and also I want to point out where I poke holes in this belief that Triple H is, you know, everything's entirely becoming stale, or, you know, there's no hype. You've really got to pay attention to the internet now. in order to like feel what's happening with
Mhm.
WWE.
Yeah.
They're doing a very good job with social media from the standpoint of the talent utilizing social media in a way that helps promote the show. Like Kevin Owens this past week did a promo on X outside of Sami Zayn's house.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
They aired it on Friday too.
and they aired it on Friday. Yeah, like that's perfect, right? Like in the real world, we understand that Kevin was just over there hanging out with his best friend and his family.
Because
And like, hey,
they live in
we're
the
gonna do a
same
little bit of
neighborhood.
business while I'm here.
Yeah, they live in the same neighborhood, and they were like, "All right, I'm gonna go film this thing real quick, and then we're gonna have dinner." And that was probably what happened. But like a really cool, I thought that was really cool actually, and that's that that I think is going to be a big deal on. I think that match is going to steal the show on Saturday.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, Kevin Owens is quite possibly on the run of his entire career right now.
Oh yeah, the dude's he's been basically the top guy, or like number 2 for the last 4 years, like even without a belt. Although he was carrying the Winged Eagle around for a long time, which I thought was awesome.
No, after the ladder match, it went away.
Yeah, but he carried that around for what, a month and a half. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's one time that I'll look at somebody bringing a belt to the ring that's not a champion and be like, oh, that makes sense.
The Rock did not carry the People's Championship.
Yeah, thank God. I'm so fucking, because I was prepared to blow a gasket, And so we continue to fall down this creative rabbit hole. If you're hanging out with us, man, you want to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, even maybe consider subscribing. We would greatly appreciate you. But we touched on this last week, and we instantly said, hey, I think you said, well, you got to give the man some credit. And then AJ Styles came to Road Dogg's defense, and we're one SmackDown in the internet wrestling community is calling for fucking Road Dogg's head after what was a pretty piss poor effort on Friday night.
That was probably the worst SmackDown that I've seen in a while. Not just because of the Nia Jax botch, but I think somebody certainly went into.
It felt real clunky.
Well, I think it felt real clunky because somebody had unlimited time.
Well, yeah, he's the final boss.
Yeah, and he just rambled for like 25 plus minutes.
Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
I've left my phone over on my chair, but I know I texted
my
you.
My name is Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I'm on the board at TKO.
And nobody can stop him, and that's it. Nobody could, and that's the problem. And so he came out. I am not going to put SmackDown on Road Dogg's shoulders. I think that the fact that they got everything in that they needed to get in, without any major. It wasn't a good show, but it wasn't the train wreck that the internet wrestling community is saying that it is.
It's pretty fucking bad, bud.
There were 2 real bad segments.
I don't know, if.
There were 2 real bad segments.
It felt real discombobulated, and that would be a Road Dogg thing, possibly just simply because The Rock. I'm with you. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. Anytime.
Give it another week. Let's see what next. If The Rock is not there next Friday, and
he hijacked 2 brand new NXT World Champions. He hijacked their moment.
Yeah.
I really don't know that I'm at a point in time where I don't believe that these problems he's creating.
Yeah, I don't.
In IRL, as the kids say.
Yeah, and had Nia Jax actually executed the Annihilator well, I think that segment would have been fine, and nobody would have been upset about it.
Yeah, but I think she was a little nervous just because of the whole, got WWE Hall of Famer laying there
Yeah,
on top of
and they're
a
stacked.
chick
You don't
whose
want to.
titty popped out halfway through her match.
Yes.
I wonder how big of a fine that is. That's got to be a pretty big fine.
Well, I mean, it cuts away. It wasn't like it was on. It wasn't like it hit television. And I would imagine. I mean, obviously, I didn't see it because it got cut away.
Oh, you didn't see the still pictures all over the internet?
I mean, I didn't look.
Oh, well,
I'm a
here,
gentleman.
allow me to reenact for you.
It was like that.
Yeah, it was just like that.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I can do whatever I want.
So her Tiffy fell out, huh?
Yeah, her Tiffy fell. It was Tiffy time for sure.
The whole Tiffy fell out. It
was Tiffy titty time.
The whole Tiffy fell out.
You know,
All right. Well, that's got to be a fun. I mean, if they don't find the workers, they certainly, the network certainly finds WWE for that.
And I love the fact that it's been, I don't know, 20 some years since the Janet Jackson Super Bowl thing, and we still call that a wardrobe malfunction.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. That's vernacular that was created on a Super Bowl Sunday halftime show.
Sure was.
You know,
wardrobe malfunction.
Crazy.
I don't understand how, if that's what happened, I don't understand how they're not like putting, like, if that's like, clearly that's a possibility, right?
No, I mean, there is no question. Okay, there's no conspiracy. I don't understand why there's a conspiracy theory around this. Justin Timberlake 100% ripped that booby cover off.
He was like,
okay,
whoop.
We saw a pierced nipple with the sun background, with the barbell in front, the whole nine, Bob. We saw it all. Okay, there was no wardrobe malfunction.
No,
okay.
that functioned the way that it was rehearsed.
It was rehearsed. Yes, thank you.
That would function the way it was.
No malfunction.
Now this I feel like actually was a wardrobe malfunction.
100%.
But again, I don't understand, because this happens relatively often. No, it's not always as egregious, but this happens relatively often with some of the women and how that goes. And just, in the way they perform and in the style, and especially what they're wearing, and just because, they are women and they have to wear a shirt.
Margarita.
You get a margarita? Is that what's happening?
Margarita?
Or do you hear a blender?
No, the wife was down here getting some stuff out of the washer, and she was going up the steps. I said margarita twice.
Oh, so it was a request.
Yeah, it was. We'll see if I win, lose, or draw.
It was a request.
I'm willing to bet that I'm going to lose, but I don't know. We'll see. I
mean, you could win.
We'll see.
Tequila sure has gotten a little bit expensive as of late, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I bought a pint of Patron last week, and it was like $33.
I was just looking at. I feel like I used to be able to get like the regular Cuervo, like the white Cuervo, for like 17 or 18, and that shit is 23 now. So it's.
I had a shot of Patron on Friday night. And it was all downhill from there. Shout out to Eric and Sierra on that one. But
bourbon prices are the same though.
Yeah, actually, bourbon prices will probably start to see some relief. It's almost like the bubble's busting.
That was a nice glass of bourbon.
I mean, after all, Buffalo Trace standard fare has been unallocated, so we're moving in the right direction.
Does that mean we're going to be able to find it in stores?
Yes. It should be in stores right now.
It was not in stores today. Was that today or yesterday? Today. It was not in stores this afternoon.
Well,
maybe next week.
It's starting to hit everywhere, so maybe PA is just a little bit behind the docket.
Constantly.
Did I show you what I got?
No.
Oh, it's upstairs.
Okay, maybe after.
Yeah, I was given a going away present from a organization that I have spent many, many hours with, and it was a $200 bottle of High West Midwinter's Night Dram, which is their Ruby Port finished rye that is a holiday release. And that's one of my favorite bottles of rye whiskey ever created. And I stopped buying it because the price goes up every year. And so I was gifted this past year's release. And it's pretty fucking tasty.
Ruby Port finished.
Yes.
That's special. I've got an Old Faithful.
Nice.
For my money, I don't know that I can buy better beer than Lagunitas. They're all good. Trogs has some good ones too, but I'm settling into a if I'm buying beer, this is what it's going to be.
So, what you think about The Rock's time on television on Friday?
Awful. Did he cut a babyface promo, and then he turned heel, and then he cut more babyface promo, and then he turned heel, and then he called Cody out, and he seemed to speak in riddles for a little bit, and then he told Cody that he wanted his soul, and the recap cut that down. He was in the ring for about 25 minutes. The recap, like if you're just to like watch it on YouTube, cuts it down to a solid 45 seconds, which if you've not seen it, that 45 seconds is great. WWE is fantastic at taking a bunch of bullshit, distilling that bullshit, and somehow coming up with water. So it's like it was good in 45 seconds. However, it took him 25 minutes. So
I mean, he said some F-bombs too on USA Network.
He did. That it was so again. I didn't watch it live because I was with you. So when I watched the playback, it was like a lot of that was just silence.
Yes,
because they just cut the audio.
I get real mad at USA Network and the way that they edit that, because like they'll be in the middle of fucking like a really important part of a match or a promo segment, and then the crowd will be holy shit, right? Or you fucked up, or shut the fuck up, and it's just like it's just radio silence, just a black screen. I didn't even. And then if it's like, holy shit, it's like black screen. What are we doing here, man?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It was.
I understand the PG rating and all of this and all that, but like, let's not dumb down fucking society any more than it already is.
We know, like, because the worst part about the holy shit is that, like, it plays 3 or 4 times before they. So it's like, oh, okay, we heard shit 3 times and then they cut it. Like, just, I mean,
why?
Let it go, man.
Like, it makes it so much worse.
Yeah, because then you know, oh, they were saying shit. Because now we got 10 seconds of dead silence.
It's crazy, bro. I just don't get it. So, not a fan of the Rock's body of work on Friday night, huh?
No, this was I think this was the first time we've seen him since on this sort of road to WrestleMania, and it was bad. And I the last time, so okay, just to dig up the past, the last time this happened, the beginning of the Rock's run, so to speak, was terrible last year going into WrestleMania. The beginning, the first first segment or 2, maybe 1.5 segments were bad, actually bad segments. And you said to me, all right, just let him cook, let him get out here. He's just getting his feet back under him. It's been a while. Let's give him some time, see what happens. And then we got to that point where he's beating the shit out of Cody Rhodes. He's like, nah, fuck that. This doesn't stop this stops when I say it stops. Are you crying? Good. You should cry. Like, he cut that, like, just beating Cody Rhodes with the belt and like just with the strap, the weight belt, and just like cursing out the camera guy, cursing out Cody Rhodes. And it was like, It was like, okay,
Yeah, it was great.
it was great. And it's like, now we're in. And the rest of it flowed great. So I'm hoping this was that like initial like hard bump in. And
Somehow this ends up that The Rock is in the fucking the title match at WrestleMania with Cody. Like there is no way that there's just no way. There's no way that he
probably
does
right.
not that there
although he said in the press conference after the fact that there doesn't need to be a match between him and Cody. Whether that's a lie or not, obviously, is yet to be determined. But I don't know, man. Something's gonna happen, and that may happen on night one. Maybe The Rock has to beat. Maybe Cody has to defend his title twice. Maybe first he has to defend it against The Rock, and then he has to defend it against whomever wins the Elimination Chamber on night 2. Or maybe he has to do them both in one night. Maybe he's got to defend against somebody for the Elimination Chamber, and then The Rock's like, fine, you weren't going to do this, I'll do this myself. And he comes in, and then Cody's got to defend against The Rock because he's the final boss. And maybe that's how WrestleMania ends, with The Rock holding the title up. I don't know. I think the only person that works with is Cody, because at this point, everybody, like, if somebody just comes in and just rips that title off of Cody and spits on him and is like, this is mine now because you didn't do what I wanted, like, that only works with Cody, because then he gets to like be that hero climbing the ladder again. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of ways it could go. A lot of ways it could go like and be cool, but there's a lot of ways that it could go and be really bad.
I feel like it's gonna end up being bad.
I mean, if it's just very straightforward, like, okay, this is what's booked and we know about it for 2 weeks going into it, it's like, oh boy. We're going to come back to this and be like, remember when we said that we could know what was going in 2 weeks and it was going to be like, oh boy, I don't know how this is going to be any good. And then it won't be any good. And we'll be like, man, they flopped. But I also feel like if they do flop WrestleMania 41, that they'll like recognize the mistake and pick it up. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So hey, real interesting sidebar. Just off to the way left here. Sonya Deville. We had been led to believe that she had asked for this release. Reports have come out that they were in the middle of negotiations. She said this herself. We were in the middle of negotiations, and so I thought the phone call was going to be the middle ground that we met on. In agreement, a contract. And it was not. We're not renewing your contract. So for complete transparency, which this really is the first time I'm saying this, I was shocked.
Okay, so we were all shocked. All right. So it was stunning.
Yeah, so just thought I'd throw that out there for you, because that was kind of a big deal for us a few short weeks ago.
I mean, it's still a big deal. Like, what the hell? What? Not that like the Pure Fusion Collective it was going anywhere, was doing anything well. I mean, they were just kind of trotting them out there and beating them every week. But Sonya Deville's been a mainstay and has had constant TV time. Every segment she's been given is always like she doesn't botch segments. Like whether the creative sucks or not is not her fault. But like she goes out there, she has a microphone, she gets her point across. It makes sense. She was a great authority figure.
Yeah.
I don't know. This seems like a big loss for me. This seems like an L. If I'm being honest, but this seems like the only L in all of those releases. But maybe it's just one of those things where they just enough was enough, and all right, we can do this without her, and they're just clearing roster space. Like we had spoken about, it was like, and she was the she was a squeaky wheel that was looking for more money or meeting in the middle or something like that, and she just. Another opportunity came up, and I think that's really going to be something that I don't think WWE is just going to cut people out of spite or out of any any kind of like thing like that anymore, just because of how TKO Group and the overarching all of that works. But I do think that there will be some times where it's like, all right, well, we could pay Sonya Deville more to lose on Monday, or fucking Becky Lynch is coming back, or whatever that we could throw more money at Becky Lynch. We could throw money at Jordan Grace. We could, whatever the case may be, wherever that money went, it was reallocated. And it will the fruits of that, and it doesn't need to necessarily be reallocated from a woman to a woman either. It could be it could be reallocated to Miro for all we know.
Miro.
But it's been reallocated because somebody came up that cost money that WWE wasn't currently paying, and they were like, "Hey, there's money."
That's not Tommy End.
Exactly. That's not the man I fought in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. That's Malachi Black. That's Aleister Black.
Oh, shit. So, speaking of people becoming available, Tony Khan and Ray Fenix are reportedly in negotiations to end his time with All Elite Wrestling. It's said that the negotiations are progressing and that a resolution is expected at some point. This comes after Tony Khan was reportedly advised to put an end to the situation.
I mean, how much bad press is enough bad press? Like, Tony Khan is eroding his goodwill with even the fans that he has left, especially by holding on, doing this to Ray Fenix, who, as we've said week after week, broke his leg on television doing that flippy dippy shit that fucking NXT or that AEW loves. This was their thing. And he broke his leg on live television doing the thing for them. And that's what he was being punished for in contract jail. So I think that the internet wrestling community, who is basically mostly the AEW fans, it was costing him political capital. We'll put it that way. It was costing him that, and it would have continued to cost him the real actual AEW fans who are not WWE fans.
Yes.
So he needed to put an end to this quick. He should have put an end to this a month ago before Penta showed up in AEW, but
WWE.
But
yeah, but then we wouldn't be getting this fucking monster Penta push.
Yeah, it's good shit. I don't think Ray Fenix goes to the main roster. I think they put Ray Fenix in NXT for a little bit. If they let him go and WWE signs him.
I thought the same thing.
I think they want to. I think they've got lightning in a bottle with Penta right now, and they want to keep that on Raw on Netflix, and you want to see Ray Fenix do flippy stuff. Tune in on Tuesday because there's Ray Fenix, and maybe Penta will show up on Tuesday, which will just pop that rating too.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. And then something else that real interesting. I had forgot this even happened, right? And then I was scrolling the old shit box this week, and source is Fightful Select, so friend of the show SRS.
Thanks, Sean.
He says, well, that ends that. Shane McMahon and Tony Khan met, but no deal was reached. On February 20th, former WWE broadcaster Jonathan Coachman said he had details about the meeting. He stated that Shane McMahon, during the meeting that he had asked for with Tony Khan, Shane asked for equity in AEW, and Shane wanted to come in and run the entire show. Coachman then stated Tony Khan ghosted Shane McMahon after that.
That sounds all right.
There was never an expanded plan for Shane McMahon to appear on AEW television or be involved in the company. Those that we've spoken to within AEW said that Tony Khan hadn't spoken about it extensively outside of noting that the two sides simply met and aren't working together. The source close to McMahon that we spoke with claimed that they wouldn't rule out a cameo appearance, but didn't think they would extensively do business together at this stage.
Think about the balls on Shane just walk in and be like, hey, let me run this for you because, like, you're fucking up. but like the balls on Shane. Shane has the balls that his father has. The man is just
If that's how that went down, I mean, absolutely,
absolutely,
right?
that's how that went down. Like, there's no way that's not how that went down. Just the cojones on that guy to walk in and be like, "Hey, let me play with your toy."
Hey, Shane McMahon, how you doing, man? Huh? You want some of this white stuff here? Huh? Let's have a talk. Let's have a little chit chat. Huh? What do you think? What are you even doing here, man? It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why you're here. You sure you don't want some of this? It's great. Huh? You wanna? You wanna what? Hey, oh, that sounds great. Yeah. No. Yeah.
No. Get out of my office.
No.
I'm busy.
Man, that's fucking wild, bro.
I mean,
it's just for Shane O'Mac to just say Dad would be proud.
Go in and be like, "Okay, let me play with your toy." Like that's all that was. Man, the nuts on that guy is all I gotta say.
If that's how it went down, that's impressive.
Nuts on that guy.
I forgot that was like even a thing, and then the Young Bucks and Shane took that picture at the airport like 3 weeks later, and that was the last we'd heard of it.
It died so fast.
Because that was the end of last year.
Yeah, it died so fast.
So like I said, I didn't even remember that happening, and I was scrolling the other day and I saw that and I said, "Oh yeah, that was a thing." Oh, I said, "Oh, the audacity! You just march right in there." Yeah.
I'll run this shit for you.
Give me a cut and let me run it, little bitch boy. Although Tony Khan did wear a neck brace at the NFL draft,
he did.
And he definitely won some cool points from me on that.
Oh yeah, keeping the kayfabe at the draft, that was kayfabe is important regardless of whether.
I mean, Pat McAfee calling him out on his own show the next day. For keeping it kayfabe, also equally awesome.
I mean, just look, you got to respect when somebody does the kayfabe thing correctly. You got to be like, all right, you did that right, good for you. And SmackDown or Dynamite actually this week, a good show.
So that Megan Bain thing with Thunder Rosa,
that was bad. Okay,
I don't know what that was.
Okay, so I have two theories on that. Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two theories on this. So there is the Brian Alvarez theory is that they don't have production meetings, and that's why everybody looked like a dumbass.
I can't believe you guys agreed on a couple of things this week, you and Mr. Alvarez. And I'll bring up the thing later, but continue.
So, like, the one thing was that, like, AEW does not have production meetings, and that's why this went so poorly. And the shock to all of that, if that's true, and I would imagine it is, because I'm pretty sure Tony Khan and Brian Alvarez, or at least Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer, have like some kind, like they talk,
Oh, so yeah.
Somebody has told them that production meetings in AEW are not.
By somebody, you mean Tony Khan himself.
Probably Tony, yes. Production meetings are not a thing.
Because he's a mark for himself.
Right, exactly. Well, and also because he doesn't like conflict. And he doesn't want to sit there and create conflict. So there's nobody sitting at tables doing like, and then what are you going to do? And what are you going to do? And what are you going to do? And that sucks. Don't do that because people will push back. Because these are first of all, Tony Khan is a weaselly little guy. Okay, so if you're fucking Brian Cage, you are looking at Tony Khan and you are like, you gonna stop me? Or like some you're doing shit like that to him, right? And so that's the one, right? That's the okay. Well, we don't have production meetings, and therefore, that's why that went so poorly. Or part two, which is kind of what, like, the more I think about it, this is more the way I think that it is. I think Thunder Rosa still has so much heat backstage because if you think about it, that was the rumor when she went away and took the title with her, and nobody knew what the fuck was going on for like 6 months or 8 months or whatever that was, and that was a couple of years ago at this point.
Yes.
She still has so much heat backstage that people sandbag her in the ring and make her look like a dumbass every chance they get. And this was a perfect chance, especially for somebody like Megan Bayne, who just came in, is looking to, get over with the locker room. Like, she's got to get over with the women in the locker room. She does, because she could be a big star. Or,
she absolutely could be a big star.
Huh?
Or a bigger star, yes.
Yeah. But to do that, you have to be over with the girls in the locker room. And first thing you do is your first interaction with Thunder Rosa is you sandbag her. Girls in the back probably going to be all right with that because they don't like Thunder Rosa. So, and Tony's not going to do shit about that. You kidding me?
Do you know why?
Soft as puppy shit?
Softer than puppy shit, pal.
So that happens. And, at that point, we're like, so it's either that there's no production meetings and everybody looked stupid, or it's that they're sandbagging Thunder Rosa because she still has so much heat with the women's locker room. And the way to get over in the women's locker room is to make Thunder Rosa look bad. And yes, Britt Baker's not back there at the moment, but Britt and Thunder Rosa do not like each other.
I don't think anybody likes Britt right now.
I mean, maybe not, but I don't know. That's another big miss too, is that like Britt was so over, but I guess she got hurt and had like a stroke or something. Like, what? That shit was crazy. What the fuck is going on with Britt and with just her like health and mental health and all? Like, that's crazy.
A little crazy, right?
It's not like we don't talk about it enough. And nobody does because there just isn't enough information, and it's not our business. But it's also like kind of wild because like she was like I still have the DMD Britsburg right there.
Mine's right there.
And it's like
right there.
And we're now sitting in this like weird spot where it's like she's under contract but not being used, but also like probably never going to be used again, and nobody likes her. But like she had a stroke like within the last 12 months, and what the fuck? What, like, there's so much like drama and like shit going on that like we just don't hear about. Nobody knows what's happening. And it's like she was one of the biggest stars AEW ever had. She was one of the faces of AEW.
She was the first woman that AEW signed.
Yeah. And she was the women's division for like the first 2 or 3 years of AEW when they did their best ratings.
Yep.
And now she's nowhere to be seen. Not to say that Toni Storm hasn't been unbelievably perfect, but like, it's like you're getting this like you're getting one of those like Ric Flair WCW amazing runs when WCW was doing like 1/4 of the audience that WWE was doing in like the late in like 1988 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild, and eventually we're gonna get like a Dark Side of the Ring or some kind of something about that, and they're gonna spill all the tea, but it's gonna be like 15 or 20 years from now, and we're gonna be old men, and we're gonna be like, I knew some shit was going down.
I think that we're gonna start hearing a lot of this shit coming out of the AEW locker room. Like, we're gonna start hearing that pretty hard and heavy here in the next year or two. Because Punk and Cody aren't talking about it, but Ricky Saints will talk about it. Ray Fenix is gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Britt Baker's gonna talk about it.
I hope Britt spills all the tea.
And like, it's gonna happen like post haste. There's some pettiness that's involved in some of this stuff for sure, and it's gonna come out.
Especially if this is the end of Britt Baker as like a wrestler. Like if she just goes back to being a dentist, there will be, like you said, like a year maybe. Give everybody a year to cool off, and like contracts will go away and shit will happen. Britt Baker will do an interview with Chris Van Vliet or something like that, and
Van Vliet.
and she will just spill the tea, and we will just sit. We will listen, mouths agape. You ever listen to a podcast like this?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's what's going to happen.
Sometimes.
Or she'll go on tour telling the story to all the podcasts.
So I don't know. It wasn't a great look, and I mean, I just don't think Shane O'Mac would have booked that way. So maybe it's a giant missed opportunity by Tony Khan, But
We'll see how the next year plays out for AEW. They're not.
But the whole ghosting him thing, that doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, he's done that. He's got an MO doing that. Because he's so goddamn non-confrontational.
No, yeah, there's no way. That's absolutely what happened. Whatever.
Joey Janela still hasn't gotten a phone call.
Who?
Joey Janela.
Right. No, who would call Joey? We would call Joey Janela.
Marco Stunt retired, and he's still waiting for a phone call.
Sure did.
All these guys are like, hey, man, he just stopped talking to me. Like, guess I don't work here anymore.
It was on TV every week in a full arena. Stop getting phone calls. The fuck?
So
that's gonna eventually happen to somebody who knows more. Like he's gonna do that to MJF or somebody like that. Like he probably has already tried to do that to MJF. And
MJF did it to him. You remember the shoot voicemail.
Yeah, like something's gonna happen, and it's gonna become a problem, and it might be a big enough problem that it takes AEW down. Maybe not quickly, but it takes them down, and they lose a TV deal. Ring of Honor still doesn't have a TV deal. It's been years.
Yeah, what, like 3?
Yeah, it's been years. Like I was just thinking about this the other day because my buddy was sent me something about Tay Mello and Sammy Guevara, and I'm like, fucking Sammy's in Ring of Honor. He's like the Ring of Honor tag team champion, but like he's not been on television in 5 or 6 months. But he's the champion with Dustin Rhodes, and Dustin's on TV like every other week or so. So like Sammy's just like SOL. Like I don't know if they're on whatever the streaming Ring of Honor is, but he ain't on AEW television, and he's not posting on TV about having matches. So
no, sure isn't. So, and you know who else wasn't on AEW television? Ricky Starks.
Sure wasn't.
Obviously, 2 weeks ago, last week, I should say, he made his big shock debut at Vengeance Day and stood in the crowd, and they said, oh my God, he's here, the hottest free agent in pro wrestling. He's here. And old Super Sleuth Tom for sure didn't let that go, did you?
I texted you why didn't they say his name?
Yeah.
Why didn't they say his name?
And then it came out the day after that they were just trying to work through some trademark things because, Ricky Starks owns the rights to Ricky Starks and, licensing agreements and this, that, and the third. And then come and roll around Tuesday and what was a pretty solid introductory segment for Ricky Starks to sign his NXT contract that says Ricky Saints.
Yep. Ricky Saints.
So where you at on that?
I hate it. I hate it so much. That he may as well have been, what did I call him? Dick Stank? Like he fucking terrible. Like
Jeffrey Penis.
Jeffrey Penis. It's terrible. Oh, well, they tried to play it off as like, oh, well, I'm from New Orleans and I love the Saints and blah, blah, blah. But like, in my mind, all I hear is, remember when Keith Lee tried to get over Bearcat? Remember when he tried to get that over on like when he was doing interviews and stuff? That's all this is him trying to get that over. I cannot see Ricky Saints like that. I can't see that working long term. And maybe it will, and I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he could prove it. Like, obviously Dolph Ziggler was a world champion, so anything's possible, but fucking hell, man. Like Ricky Saints.
See, I don't hate it nearly as much as you do. You
I
know,
mean, it's not good.
it's not great, but he's just out there trying to get it over. But he clearly picked it because we're in a different WWE than we were when Vince would throw a fucking dartboard at Chili McFreeze, who would eventually become Stone Cold Steve Austin. Or everybody losing their surname.
Big E Langston.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to give the man a chance to get it over, bro.
I mean, that's fine. I have a feeling that, like, we often. No, the thing was that we often called him Starks, though, and I think that's the problem, is that we changed the thing. Like, if they'd have called him Rick Starks, like, that would have been like, and that would have been easily explainable. Like, Ricky's a little boy's name. My name is Rick, or Richard Starks. Literally anything Starks. Doing any of that would have been better.
Rick Starks.
Call him Rick. Spell it R-I-C, like Flair.
Okay, now you're just being a little mark for yourself over there.
But I'm just I'm throwing out things that are obviously better.
So outside of you feeling that the name is terrible,
we referred to him as Starky Baby, Starkman Jones, like all this shit. Fucking stick to the Starks thing. The Starks thing is the name, not the Ricky part.
Ricky was a star.
He was a star. Exactly.
Now he's a star. I'm just that didn't.
It's bad. It's not good. It's just. I think there were better ways to do this, and I think this sets him back.
Do you really? I don't. I don't.
I not sets him back, but I think this hamstrings him a little bit.
It's just because they didn't spoon feed you what you wanted to see.
I think Rick Starks would have been fine. Richard Starks, literally anything would have been fine, other than changing the last name. I think that was the problem.
So outside of what you deemed to be a terrible name change, what'd you think about the segment? Overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Great segment. Fantastic segment. They're bringing him in and treating him like a star, but if they're going to change the name like they did with what's his face?
Ethan Page?
No, not Ethan. Obviously, they didn't change Ethan Page's name. Change his name like they changed Lexus King from
Brian Pillman Jr.
Brian Pillman Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, but Brian Pillman Jr. wanted that name change so that he could create his own legacy. That was his choice, his argument. He stands behind that. And Ricky Starks, I mean, reading from the book of Lexus King here, in as far as trying to get the gimmick over. So, I really like the way that the segment was shot too, right? Like they did the whole thing. They got the, Wes Lee coming out, and Ethan Page coming out, and then Wes Lee coming out, and obviously Tuesday we're gonna get Wes Lee versus Ricky Saints for Ricky's in-ring WWE debut, which should be awesome. They have contrasting styles, but from an in-ring perspective, that match should be really, really good.
I feel like those are two guys that it's hard to have a bad match with, so them coming together should be a great match.
I mean, and Ethan Page is absolutely going to, and Ricky Saints are absolutely going to cross paths sooner rather than later. But I think the sky is the limit for Ricky Saints in WWE/NXT. And if you paid attention to the Busted Open After Dark podcast with Bully Ray, which is now a thing on YouTube, which we've yielded 2 episodes, one with The Undertaker, which was like a 6-part series on YouTube, and a 35-minute sit down with one Ricky Saints, who kind of outlined some things. And I want to continue down the Ricky Saints rabbit hole here. He talked about his time in AEW, and it wasn't super glowing review. You know, he said that he really felt like things had started to go downhill after Punk left. You know, obviously it started with Cody, and then after Punk left, you know, he felt some sort of way. And then he says, I will say this. There are some people that stuck their nose in my creative business that shouldn't have happened. Veterans, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. If they have a problem with me, they have my number. Text me about it. With that being said, I'm glad to be here. Now, what this particular excerpt doesn't highlight is that Ricky Starks goes on to say, you've got this impressive legacy, and you're trying to protect that legacy. And then Ricky backpedals a little bit. And he's like, you know, we're all trying to create these great legacies, and we all want aspire to have great legacies, is what I mean. Man, if that's not a clear shot across the bow of one Adam Copeland, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and that's what it was. A lot of people were like, oh, he's talking about Jericho. Immediately my brain goes, no, he's talking about Adam Copeland.
100%.
That is Adam Copeland right there. And he and Cope absolutely butted heads. Adam Copeland came out and tried to bury him on the mic, which is very much an Adam Copeland thing. It's very much it was an Edge thing, burying somebody on the mic, and he just kind of did that, right? He did his shtick, and Ricky didn't take too well to that, and apparently,
and Ricky fired back, and I mean, quite honestly, I would give the upper hand in that exchange to Ricky Starks.
And then we didn't see him again, though. That was that's the deciding thing, is that like Ricky like cut him off and was was a jerk to Adam Copeland on live television. And I can't help but think that Cope didn't like that, especially because he was still very new.
Yeah, and he went in there all full of piss and vinegar, thinking he was going to be one of those people in the locker room over there. Mm-hmm. And they clearly don't want that over there. They don't want that mentorship or that, back in my day we used to, which is fine, but like on-screen burials both ways, that's just, it's not very professional.
No. And we've talked at length about how bad Adam Copeland's run has been, and it's they've now saddled him with the Death Riders and with FTR, who they've only buried for the last 5 years, and it's driving people away. Even if they pull a good segment out, because let's face it, I mean, these are all good people who are capable of having good segments and good feuds and good everything. Like they've got a legacy of that, but like it's driving people away because it's less than. And it's like, oh, hey, well, like, you were a big deal here, but like, this is supposed to be the new part of that. And it's starting to feel like that point in WCW, where like it was all the old guys and they were all getting these old guy, big time contracts. And, it turns a point to where, they're making money, and like this is different than WCW, because like they're not making money right now, and they've got a lot of heavy contracts, and obviously the cons can pay for this, but how long are they going to?
I mean, we've talked about this at length. I think that Tony Khan never gives up on AEW,
but at what point does he not have the money to spend on the Adam Copelands and the John Moxleys? And I mean, Mox probably doesn't command the same dollars that Adam Copeland does, but like at what point can he not afford Jericho? Can he not, or is he not willing to pay for, because he can afford him? Is he not willing to pay for Jericho? Is he not willing to pay for, Adam Copeland? And maybe that's the savior of AEW, is when he stops fucking paying for these old guys, who are washed up. Jericho's washed up. Copeland's washed up. Like that's it.
Hey
Like,
man, at the end of the day, you just don't know the restaurant business. It's about ambiance, views, and promotion. I know a place in Santa Cruz that even has a good location that we go all the time because the food is awesome. It's never full, but has a great rep because that's the city. That city is filled with romantic restaurants where it's not about the food but the view.
thanks, Dave. You want to elaborate on that?
So Dave replied to this tweet, and this is kind of I interject this now because this is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
This tweet goes, restaurants with good tasting food are rarely half empty or moving to smaller dining rooms,
Yeah.
right? And by that it means restaurants, the wrestling business,
Yeah.
with good tasting food, aka a good product.
Yeah.
Okay. Great in ring, uh, good promo packages, great lighting, great music. Like it's an experience, right? Dave's right. Like there's some ambiance that has to go there, but that is to be expected,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Good tasting food. So like, again, that's the product. That's the experience. Are rarely half empty or moving to smaller dining rooms, and this is a clear shot at AEW's in arena and on screen product.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you and I have touted as some of the most fun we've ever had at a wrestling show,
Mm-hmm.
is becoming a shell of itself.
Yeah.
Right? Like we still had a great time in Pittsburgh at Dynamite 5.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a well put together show in arena. It felt awesome.
Pittsburgh came out and we yelled for them. It was
Yes.
to be fair, like they had put on like that. That was the best show they put on that month, though. If we're being
Yeah.
fair to them, that was the best show they put on. And thank you to the AEW for bringing the best show you had to Pittsburgh. Like
Yeah.
recognizing that
Fucking awesome.
Pittsburgh is a town that will come out for pro wrestling, and we are that town.
Yes.
Like Pittsburgh is that town. Like, and Wheeling, West Virginia is that town. Like these are towns that are like, we've all been pro wrestling fans since we were little kids. Our kids are fans, and like these are like the the steel towns, the blue collar working towns, to where it's like, okay, we maybe can't afford to go see Steely Dan, but we can afford that $10 wrestling ticket, and we're gonna go see that.
Hell yeah.
And that's how we all grew up, right? Like we weren't going to concerts and shit as kids. We were going to wrestling shows as kids.
What's the over under that AEW goes to West Banco Arena in Wheeling, West Virginia, instead of going to the Pete in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
I wouldn't. It wouldn't shock me 1% at all. It wouldn't shock me at all.
What if maybe they throw a curveball and they come to the West Virginia Coliseum, which is, well, that doesn't make sense because that's a bigger building still.
I mean, if they did a pay-per-view there, I think that would make sense.
Yeah, that'd be a good pay-per-view.
Like a big pay-per-view there would make sense. Like Winter is Coming or something next year.
Well, that's not even a pay-per-view. That's just a special Dynamite.
Well, I mean, even like a special Dynamite in a bigger building like that would be. I mean, they'd obviously close off a lot of it for that, but it would be something, especially if they put the tickets, if they priced the tickets well and did it off the jump, because it's in a bigger building. Like that would be something that they would get people coming out for, because like we'd come from Pittsburgh for that.
Yeah.
You'd come for like we'd all come, we'd all coalesce together from that, because it's only a 45-minute-ish drive, hour drive, maybe hour and a half.
Ain't shit, bub.
Yeah, it's nothing. For us, like fucking yeah, drive that shit all the time. Like when we would go for that, especially if the ticket prices were right. And I feel like that's kind of where AEW, like they're like, well, we're as big as WWE. It's like, no, you're not, bro. Like don't do that. Like put Will Ospreay out there, but let me buy my $25 ticket.
And this opinion is starting to circulate the internet a little bit. I can't say that I disagree that TNA is the clear number 2 when it comes to the product, and they would be the clear number 2 if they had a better television deal.
They would. And that's really the thing. But and now with their now with what's going on with the WWE stuff, like, do they not get a television deal out of that?
So I don't know. We'll go ahead and like I think that everything going on in pro wrestling, it's we're here for a reason. I will continue to remain steadfast in the belief that AEW is going to pull the nose up.
I hope so. I mean, they did this week. This was a good show, other than the Thunder Rosa segment part. Even like that match going into it was kind of cool. But like, it was a good show, kind of top to bottom. Otherwise,
I didn't hate what I saw. I didn't mind the promo to start the show between MJF and Hangman. I thought it was pretty good. The internet kind of felt like the internet kind of took it to task on Thursday morning.
I thought it was a good open. It was a solid open.
But but I don't know. The pro wrestling landscape is still bright, but AEW, in order to survive and or thrive, they need to stop hemorrhaging their top talent, and they need to realize that some of the situations that they're in are self-inflicted gunshot wounds, so to speak. So, I'm really interested to see what Ricky Saints can do in NXT/WWE. He told Bully Ray on the Busted Open After Dark podcast that he fully plans on being on the WrestleMania card in New Orleans next year, which, I mean, that's a lofty goal.
Good luck.
And, I'll be interested to see if he can make that come to fruition. And,
I mean, best of luck to him. I would love to see that. But, like, that's not, like, he's not going to get there by, like, he's going to have to step it up. Like, he did great. He did good things in AEW, but he's going to have to step it up if he wants to get there that fast.
Yeah.
It's fast.
So, going to be interesting. Don't really know how I feel about this whole thing with The Rock. I guess just have to wait and see. Let's not pull the trigger on Road Dogg's assassination just yet. And I think that Triple H, we're going to get hot and heavy coming out of Elimination Chamber, getting ready to ride on into Mania. I think that everything's going to start to take shape and everything's going to start to make sense.
I hope so. And if it doesn't, we'll criticize it here, here on the One Fall Wrestling Cast. We will talk shit on everybody,
which you should give a thumbs up for, and maybe even consider subscribing. Hey man, I think that we can start to put a bow on some things here. What do you say? I believe that it is everybody's favorite time.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
And that is for the One Fall WrestleCast match of the Tom, what's your match of the week, Bob?
My match of the week was actually Penta versus Pete Dunne. This was a repeat match because Pete Dunne kind of came out versus Penta and Ludwig Kaiser the week prior, and that's what led to this match this week. However, Ludwig Kaiser came out this week.
Yes.
To fuck all that shit up. However, it ended up like screwing up Pete Dunne, who ended up losing to Penta, making Pete Dunne continue to look good because every Pete Dunne match is incredible. Penta has been very good and has seemingly learned how the WWE ropes work. It was great. The crowd was super hot for this, which I think really made this a big deal. I think that this feud gets all three of these guys over, and I'm excited to see
agree.
Because Penta's already on fire. Putting Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser in there with him only elevates them. I love both of those guys. I love what Penta's been doing since arriving in WWE. And so all of this is like sort of pandering to me because it's like kind of making guys who I've liked for a long time relevant with a guy who like I maybe shortchanged at first, who I'm coming around on. So like you're taking two guys who I was already hot on and a guy who I'm coming around on, and you're putting all three of them together. And it was a great segment, top to bottom. It was clean. Everything looked good. Everything made sense. And it all works. And like when everything all works together and feels good, it's like it makes everything feel warm inside. And did it kick off Raw? It was early in Raw.
Yeah, I think it was like the second or third thing.
There was like a segment, and then it was like this was the match. Like this was like the first match. So this like really like grabbed me, and I'm like, fucking Raw is great. So that was my match of the week because it really like kind of took off, and it was just kind of one of those things that stuck in my head. And like other things happened throughout the night, but like that was the match that stuck in my head. So that's my match of the week.
Well, that was one of my top contenders for match of the week. But being as you gushed over it, I guess I will give my honorable mention the go-ahead. And that would be AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio.
So very good.
It was also very, very good, right? And it was.
Didn't know I wanted it until I saw it.
So much fun, like to watch those two work. Like Dom is like entirely underrated. I guess like we forget that is Rey Mysterio's kid. And AJ Styles is fucking AJ Styles.
He's fucking phenomenal. That's all you can say about it.
There was zero indication of ring rust.
No.
He's in phenomenal shape. And the fact that they just threw him both feet into the Braun Breaker pool going into WrestleMania, I'm fucking here for it.
I like that there's like they're adding that like third element, but it's like they're giving everybody like singles matches, but they're adding a third element of like another guy who's there to fuck your shit. Like I'm here to mess your day up. And
I think that point right there is why everything feels so disjointed to some people.
Yeah, because they're not used to that. It's like, and to be fair, it doesn't always work. It might not work in both of these circumstances because they're trying to do it twice on the same show, right? Like it's kind of the same thing
in the same area of the card, which is indicative of what we talked about a month or so ago about trying to build the mid card.
But all of it felt real smooth and real like
no arguments.
Real good. It felt real good. And like I feel like the AJ Dom Braun Breaker is like it's a step up, I think, from because it's like there's a title in the picture with that. And Penta's gonna come out on top of this little triple threat thing, and then he's gonna insert himself in the Intercontinental title picture. But like it's but like AJ Dom and obviously Braun's the champion, so like those three are there. Like those guys, like Dom gets booed out of the building still, but he's also great. Guy just goes out and just puts on a good match every Monday, just for no good reason. Just doesn't fuck up, never fucks up. Nobody ever is like, oh man, did you see Dominic Mysterio fuck that up? That never happens.
No.
He's like 22 years old. It never happens. If you actually think about it, it's Randy Orton level. Yeah, I said it.
Oh, that's a bold take there, Cotton. We'll see how it works out for you.
It is, but it's fucking incredible.
So, the landscape is bright, and I cannot wait for everything to continue to take shape despite the internet's woes about the state of the current product. Yeah, man. I'm glad we could come together and get this knocked out tonight.
Now we can watch Raw tomorrow.
Looking forward to an interesting week as we lead into Elimination Chamber. And if all things go as planned, we may be able to enjoy that program together, sir.
Yes.
So I will not put the cart before the proverbial horse on that one, but we will keep an open mind for sure. So, with that being said, if you're still hanging out, man, we appreciate you. You go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Maybe even consider subscribing. We would greatly appreciate it. Check us out wherever you listen to your favorite, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We're there.
Spotify.
We're there. Spotify, yeah, Spotify would be great. None of our analytics are through Spotify. It's always just web browser based. All of it. It's crazy. A lot of that's Apple Podcasts though too.
Spotify.
So
that's how I listen to everything. Is Spotify. I listen to us on Spotify. Yes, I like to listen to myself talk.
I mean, you got to stay up with the product. You know what I mean? You gotta make sure that we know what we're just being focused on, trying to make sure that we're as good as we can be. You know what I'm saying?
We're the best. Like we're the most slept on best podcast.
I would say that too. I do believe that, like, outside of like former pros, like we got a pretty good opinion based show here.
Sometimes we say it first and then the former pros say it, and I'm like, I fucking do it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Check us out over on Twitter and Instagram at @1_FallWC. That's ONE. And as always, thanks for hanging out. It's all love. We'll catch you next week. Probably with some Elimination Chamber news. One Fall WrestleCast.
I love the chamber. It's gonna be so